Alright, I figure I haven't done a video like this in a while, so I figure, and because of the events, oh, there's my mic, say hi to my mic, by the way. Let me go ahead and put that down, there you go. Nice. Yeah, I figure, because of the recent events of the last couple days, I figured it'd give me plenty of time, plenty of things for me to vlog about. This is going to be a pretty lengthy video. I'm gonna run my mouth about a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, my hair looks awful. Sorry about that, I guess, but whatever. So, two things occurred this weekend. First is that, first is a wrestling thing. Apparently, Hulk Hogan. Um, there was some footage of him in an interview calling somebody who was going out with his daughter to give her a music deal, called him the N-word. Okay. And in response to this, WWE decided, okay, let's do what we did with Chris Benoit and remove him from directly or indirectly, we'll say, from our archives, like they did with Benoit. You go to a WWE Network pay-per-view or or show, and you won't see Benoit's name. You won't be able to search for Chris Benoit. You won't be able to search for Hulk Hogan either, apparently. Which is really crazy because he has a lot of WWE has a lot of documentaries about him and stuff like that. He was in the Hall of Fame a decade ago. Now I guess he is not. All because he made racist comments or said or uttered a racial slur years ago. Uh, do I agree with what WWE has done? Um, kind of. I'm not gonna go into whether or not I agree with it. Um, in the context of the interview, I read a little bit about it, and Hogan says that, yo, we're all a little bit racist here and there. And then he went on and dropped the N-bomb. And what Hogan has to realize, and he's never understood this concept for his entire, we'll say, what now, 30-year career as an entertainer, as a wrestler, as a sports entertainer, I guess, or whatever you want to call him, as a public, or as a public significant figure in American uh, and media culture or whatever. He has a lot of influence. Hogan's extremely famous. If I come on here and I start mentioning a bunch of racial slurs, guess what? I'm relatively unknown on YouTube. No one's gonna care to take what I have to say seriously. For me, it's more entertainment than anything else, than someone else. I have what, 200 subscribers on my YouTube channel, and like not even a fraction of that uh, watch my videos on a regular basis. You know what I mean? If I had more subs, guess what? I'd have to do a lot more to make my videos neater for consumption. You know what I mean? I would have to cut off cussing probably. I would have to put an effort to not use racial slurs or sexist slurs or homophobic slurs and stuff like that. I wouldn't drink water on camera. No, I'd probably still do that. But you get the point. Hogan has never realized this. Okay, never. A decade ago, when he did Hogan Knows Best, you remember that TV show where he was trying to get a recording contract for his daughter, which he always has been doing that. He's a stage father. He's a stage parent. Stage parent means that they want their kids to be just as successful as them. You know what I mean? I don't like that concept of being a stage parent. So therefore, my hatred of Hulk Hogan only magnified. I don't feel sorry for Hulk Hogan. I think he was an idiot for using using that type of language when he knows that he has millions of eyes watching him all the time, no matter where he's at, no matter what he's doing. Do I think that WWE had to go that far? No. Because let me tell you, WWE is mired in double standards. I'm gonna link it. I want to link you in the description to a video that Jeff Schlegel, otherwise known as the guy who runs the Off the Ropes show, OTRS Central, has said about this topic. But he has 2 videos on it. I'm going to show you both of them. His videos are quite good, and he explains it way better than I ever could. What WWE should have done: firing him, absolutely, yes, but removing him from things, no. Because why did WWE remove Chris Benoit from everything that was related to his work in WWE and WCW and then ECW too, since WWE owns all 3? That's because he killed people. He killed himself and his family because his brain was deteriorated, whatever. Okay? The Ultimate Warrior. And I met the Ultimate Warrior 4 years ago, 2011. The Ultimate Warrior is a homophobe. He doesn't like gay people. He admits it. He admitted it in 2011. Maybe a year ago before he died, maybe he might have changed his views, but the fact remains that if you're going to go by the context of firing Hulk Hogan because a number of years ago he had questionable views on black people, you'd have to go in just as far and also remove the Ultimate Warrior for having continual homophobic ideas. Granted, these homophobic ideals were only relegated to campus lectures, to obscure radio shows, obscure articles that he posted blogs and later video blogs about, which didn't really garner that many views. He wasn't as popular as Hulk Hogan. But if you're going to follow those principles, you would have to do the exact same thing. WWE enforces stereotypes all the time. Santino, when he was performing in his twilight years, he was very flamboyant. So what they do, they made him dress up as a woman, Santino, because this is how flamboyant people, this is what they do. They cross-dress. Are you serious? Like me, I'm Jewish, right? So I haven't seen a Jew gimmick in WWE yet, but I'm pretty sure if they ever made, or I guess Erwin R. Shyster, but I don't know if he was Jewish. They didn't really go with that stereotype. With the stereotype that he issues, God damn it, I can't find fucking words today. He issues tax audits. You know what I mean? Like if they had a Jewish guy gimmick, then he'd probably be all cheap and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And there's the OTRS says this a lot better than I do, is that almost every black performer that we've seen in WWE in the last 25 or so years, all of them have a stereotype attached to them. Yet Hulk Hogan goes and probably in just the heat of the situation uses racial slurs, and he gets removed from WWE's history? To me, that doesn't make sense. Hulk Hogan's a very bad person, but he's a person nonetheless. And yeah, being called a racist it corners you in a lot of ways. It really does. Look, my father, and I'm going to talk about my father a lot in this video, on both events. My father was an admitted racist. He called black people the N-word. He called one of my best friends was Hispanic, and he called him the S-word. Same with another best friend of mine. He used these racial slurs freely because he didn't know better. To him, he had a master race, and his master race was Middle Eastern Jewish people. This is why I haven't contacted my father's family in almost 5 years, and I will continue to not do so. Because if my father's going to be racist like that, what makes me think that the rest of his family is not like that as well? Okay? The difference between Hulk Hogan saying these things and my father saying these things is my father, as well as anyone who isn't in the limelight all the time when it comes to media, they're not under the microscope, under the spotlight all the time. My dad can say these things, and the worst that'll happen is that he'll say it in front of the wrong person, and then he'll get into a physical altercation, or a verbal altercation, or something like that. Or he'll get fired from his job, and then he'll have to look for a new one. You know what I mean? But when someone like Hulk Hogan goes on a show and says, we're all a little bit racist, that N-bomb, I don't want him messing with my daughter, I don't want my daughter dating anybody who isn't white, you know what I mean? That's a preference. But still, as famous as he is, he should have known better not to say that. I know better not to say these things. Are there black people who make me upset? Yeah, of course there are. Are there white people who do the same? Of course there are. Are there women who do the same, who annoy me and who make me upset? Yeah. Are there Hispanics who do that? Absolutely. Asians? Sure. Even we'll go as far as Middle Eastern Muslims. I've been taught, trained, systematically to despise Middle Eastern Muslims. But guess what? If a Middle Eastern Muslim comes around and they win me over, I'm going to be their buddy anyways. And if a white person does something that I don't like, guess what? It doesn't mean I hate white people, I just hate that particular person. Whatever names I call people, I always call them names that are not racial slurs, because I know better than to use racial slurs. You know, if a dude's being an asshole, regardless of his race, I'm gonna call him an asshole, or fuckboy, or tool, or whatever. The same with a chick. If a chick is doing something and saying things that I don't care for, I don't call her a bitch. I don't call her a cunt. I don't use those words. I'll call her a ratchet. I'll call her an idiot. I'll call her a moron. I'll call her a dick or an asshole. What we need to do with race in the United States, we need to eliminate it from our discourse. I don't discriminate when it comes to race at all. Never, never, never. I do not. I don't. If you can speak English, and if you are just friendly, mature, and cool to me, and if you aren't being a tryhard, if you're not being a ratchet, if you're not being an idiot, if you're not being a dumbass, if you're not being stupid, if you're not being an asshole, then guess what? You've won me over. Race doesn't matter to me. Race, when something bad happens to somebody, it's literally the only thing that goes in my mind. Whether Hulk Hogan wants to hate a black person, an Asian person, a Hispanic person. If I were Hulk Hogan in that interview, these would be my exact words. I would go, you know what? I would rather prefer my daughter to go out with someone else. Maybe this guy is trying to get her a record deal, and that's cool. I'd prefer him to go to someone else for that record deal. I don't think my daughter would benefit from having that particular record deal, and I don't think she would benefit from dating that man in particular. If I can come up with this kind of thing on the fly, with this kind of stuff on the fly. Now, granted, I'm not put under pressure now. I'm just making a YouTube video, right? But even still, I deal with a lot of pressure situations at my job, when I'm bowling, even when I was at Walmart shopping this morning. there was only one person checking out people, and I had to go to self-checkout. Self-checkout didn't work, and the attendant was just like sitting there staring at me, and it was saying, "Yo, notify the attendant." And me and the attendant just staring at each other. I go like, and he happened to be black. I didn't say this N-bomb is being a dumbass. I just went, screw this. This person is being a dumbass. Let me just go to the checkout counter. You know what I mean? I know how to differentiate. I know not to use racial slurs because I agree with George Carlin. The words are the words are harmless in nature, okay? It's whoever uses them who you should be concerned about. It's the context that tells you if the word's good or bad. I'm Jewish, right? I got two childhood friends who I saw this weekend. One of them is a ginger, another one is Polish. So if I want to use racial slurs on them, I know I can do it because they're my buddies. So therefore, my racial slurs in that context, in that situation, would mean nothing. In fact, they would be a greeting. So if one of my buddies goes up to me and goes, sup Jew, sup kike, I go, yo, what up? You know what I mean? Because I know that they're not using that word maliciously. But we've been trained nowadays to think and believe that all racial slurs, or ethnic slurs, or sexist slurs, or I don't know what you'd call like a mental illness slur, but yeah, or slurs of anything. We've been told to believe that all slurs are now harmful, no matter who's using them and no matter who they're using it towards. So yeah, you got to be careful now. And Hulk Hogan, in my opinion, he should have known this better than anybody because he had a microscope underneath him. Okay. All right. Now, the second event. This is gonna drive me up a wall. Okay, I've already been running my mouth for 17.5 minutes. I'm probably gonna be running my mouth for at least twice the time in this second event. Because these events are now just popping up left and right, and it's honestly, I'm not scared to leave the house, but now I gotta realize, what are the chances that I'm gonna get attacked by somebody who is just lashing out at the world because things aren't going well for him. In Lafayette, Louisiana, this 50-something-year-old guy walks in to see Trainwreck, that new Amy Schumer movie, and I've favorited one of her show videos, the one about the Miladies, because I think it's hilarious, because I used to be one of those supplicating nice guy people, you know what I mean? And I don't know what Trainwreck is about, but Amy Schumer, I guess, is criticized for being like on the radical end of the women's rights spectrum, I guess. So this dude marches in here with a semi-automatic weapon and just starts firing at people, just starts shooting at people, because they are going into a movie that features somebody who he doesn't like, and he feels like, oh, well, if these guys are seeing the movie, I guess, then they would be associated with said person, so they all must die. He's reported to be an admitted misogynist, an admitted a staunch believer in what they call men's rights. He's a staunch believer. He's a staunch what do you call it? Not communist, but a staunch conservative, and so on and so forth. Okay, and they say that he had mental illness. Now the OTRS guy also says something about this event as well. And I agree with him in saying that, look, he wasn't some raging misogynist. He was a goddamn terrorist. And I like how OTRS said, yo, if someone like fires or aims at or tries to kill people in the government or people of power, then that makes him a terrorist. But if it's citizens, it means he's mentally ill. That means he's a misogynist. That means he hates a certain group. We need desperately, we need to remove race and gender from our discourse. It's never going to get better if we just keep mentioning it. And I'm not just talking about raging men's rights activists or red pillars or whatever, or manosphere people, whatever the fuck they want to call themselves. And sadly, the only reason I ever got exposed to these groups was because I followed Real Social Dynamics and the pickup industry, and those three groups I just mentioned are like fringe groups of them who tried to do what the pickup people told them to do and didn't succeed, so now they want to get revenge. It's childish and stupid, you know what I mean? But so are the women who says that men are to blame for everything. These radical feminists who they don't want women's rights. I know better than that. My own mother, who was a member of the National Organizations for Women in the late 70s, she even told me that today's brand of feminism is nothing more than fucking hate groups. So it's it's fire fighting fire here. And no, has nothing to do with firearms. It has absolutely nothing to do with firearms. No, because guess what? If he didn't have access to guns, what makes us think that he wouldn't fill up a jerry can or a gasoline can full of gasoline and fucking light it up and light it on fire? Huh? When Elliot Rodger did his shootings last year, okay? He conducted them really late at night. And he had access to firearms, okay? If he didn't have access to firearms, what do you think would be stopping him from buying? It's as easy as just buying an empty gas tank and filling it with gas. What was stopping him from buying a gas tank, filling it with gas, and laying it down around wherever groups are of the people he wanted to kill, and then just lighting it on fire and burning a place down? Sick, twisted people are going to do sick, twisted things no matter what weapons they have access to. Okay? It has nothing to do with fucking guns. I really, oh my god. And the pro-gun people are just as bad. They really are. And this is going to lead into my final rant. Okay? This is going to be the first, last, and only Mind of Joelsuf, that's what I'm calling it now, that is going to talk about social issues regarding race and gender and stuff like that. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of hearing about it. I'm sick of listening to my friends complain about it or pushing their own social agenda. I'm sick of it. It's toxic. It's a toxic activity. It's mind-numbing. It's a low IQ activity. It's just like watching Jerry Springer. That's all you're doing. There's a woman on my Facebook, very bright woman, in grad school. I've known her since she was a freshman. Every time I get on Facebook, she posts conservative stuff. And you know what? I agree with a lot of what conservatives have to say. I agree with a lot of what people on the left, liberals, have to say. But I don't need to lump myself into a goddamn group. We live in an age where it's like where you're looked down upon if you are your own island. But guess what? Being your own island is what we fucking need. Because guess what? If I can have a mind open enough to accept what feminism is bringing to the table, and accept what men's rights is bringing to the table, accept what pro-gun proponents are bringing to the table, and to also accept what anti-gun proponents are bringing to the table. If I can lump all that and make sense of it and come up with my own original narrative that organizes the beliefs of each group, which, if I were to actually map that out and blueprint it, one, that would take days for me to prepare. Two, would be the video would be like 4 goddamn hours. It'd be like a 4-hour fucking lecture. If I can do this, and I suck at fucking college classes, I'm really bad at it. I'm not good at school. I'm not a good student. I'm not. I'm not. I've run a C plus average, a 75 to 80 average, my whole life, my whole school career. I never valued education ever. I just got it. Well, for the first half, I got it because my dad told me to, and the second half it was because I thought that college bowling was a cool, good idea. If I can come up with my own narrative based on all these narratives being thrown at me, and not even discriminate between race and gender when it comes to my dealings with people, and I admit to being insecure, I admit to not having the love life that I want, I admit to not being able to go out with the most attractive women. But the fact of the matter is that I'm able to discuss these issues with an open mind and not push my ideals onto someone else. That's the one thing I really, really dislike. And I'll let you know right now, okay? When it comes to my beliefs in general, at the core, okay? And this is also going to be the first, last, and only time you'll ever hear this as well. Or maybe I'll mention it a couple of other times, but I'm never going to push it on others, okay? My beliefs are essentially nihilistic, okay? There's no order. The chaos is our natural state. We all have malicious intents. We all have racist beliefs and thoughts. We all have sexist beliefs and thoughts. We all protect ourselves, and we're all selfish. You know what I mean? And the the reason why we're here is to make sense of that, and is to prevent us from being truly malicious. What happened in Lafayette wasn't an angry man shooting at young women. It was an angry person shooting at other people. Okay? Or not even that. No. I'm sorry. Scratch that. It wasn't an angry, older man using a gun and shooting at helpless, innocent victims. And 2 young women were victimized. And it only illustrates the power of the patriarchy. No. Here's what happened. Here's how I am interpreting what happened in Lafayette. It's how I interpreted what happened in, what was it, Santa, I forgot where the Elliot Rodgers shootings took place. Santa Barbara. The same thing what happened in Santa Barbara. Same thing what happened in Aurora, Colorado in 2012. The same thing had happened in fucking Virginia Tech in 2007, and so on and so forth. Then in Columbine, etc. It wasn't angry men using guns to kill innocent women and other innocent men. That's what people interpret on the surface to make themselves feel better. In my mind, it was just a crazy person using a weapon to maliciously harm other people. And let me ask you a question. What if the roles were reversed? What if it was an angry woman getting a gun and going into the Expendables, the Expendables 7 or whatever fucking sequel they're on, going into the Expendables 7 or any other film that objectifies women. Well, we're all objectified, by the way, so that concept is fucking dead. Um, you know what if it was a crazed woman who went into the Expendables and shot a whole bunch of dudes? Uh, What would the narrative be then? Huh? The sooner we can all accept that just people in general are really shitty specimens who are selfish and who don't like it when they get when bad things happen to them, who don't like being rejected no matter who you are, who don't like being ditched by their lover. That's what happened to this. That's what happened to the shooter in Lafayette. Apparently, it was a. Apparently, I'm trying to adhere to my own context now. Apparently, he, because it was a dude, obviously. You know what I mean. Apparently, he was mentally ill, and of course, they're gonna throw in the mental ill thing. You know, Elliot Rodger, you know, was speculated to have high functioning autism. So the narrative for like a few weeks was like, watch out, if someone's autistic, they might shoot people. You know what I mean? Like, you know, what kind of mental illness are we gonna be scared of now? You know what I mean? And he was divorced, so a divorced single father who couldn't see their children. Anyone in that position would have violent thoughts. I've had those kind of thoughts when I was in high school. I saw the Columbine shootings, and this is going to be a rather nasty confession of mine. We were in class, and everyone was like, "Yo, give your thought," and you know, the teacher was like, "Yo, give your thoughts on these shootings, and what do you think could change?" And I said, "I just wanted them to happen here in our high school," and everyone looked at me like I was some crazy nut job, and I probably was. We all have these thoughts. Everybody has those kind of tendencies. The question is, are you going to make a decision? And I'm going to post another video that is just, I should have watched it fucking a decade ago because holy shit. It's all a choice. Are you going to choose to be mad at things you can't control? Or are you just going to be like, whatever, who cares? It's all the same shit to me. And just move on with your life. The person who performed those shootings in Lafayette, it hit home because I was raised by a single father. I chose to live with him because, for some reason, I don't know how, it was probably my own sense of loneliness. I just foresaw that if I didn't move in with my mom or with my father, I don't know what would happen to my dad. I don't know. Because being a divorced dad who can't see their kids or who has limited access to them, and you want to see them. Some fathers don't. Some fathers don't give a shit, and some mothers don't give a shit. You know what I mean? But I knew how lonely he would be, so that's why I stayed with him. When I heard about the Lafayette shootings, the person who performed them, I looked and read about it, and I said to myself, that could have been my dad. That could have been my dad, because when you feel like someone's left you, or if you're rejected, and you're a guy, and you're a heterosexual guy, I don't know how it is for women, I don't know how it is for gays, but yeah, if you are rejected, and you're a dude, and you have feelings for the person who rejected you, or who left you, yeah, it's a hard emotion to control. And some people, like the Lafayette shooter, he didn't have control. I think what we can learn from this is that we really need to start systematically teaching our youth and through media and Hollywood that you don't need romance in your life, that it only adds to your current level of happiness, and that you're going to be okay if you don't have a love life, that you don't have a sex life, and you're going to be alright. Hollywood doesn't follow that narrative. For men, it follows the narrative of, well, you know, if you're still a virgin by this age, then you're just some freak who like, is just subhuman. It also follows the narrative that, oh, you know, you're gonna get your special, the woman who you have a crush on, so just be patient. It's hard to juggle those concepts. It's hard to have both those concepts in one mindset. I'd rather, and it's almost like a test. A lot of people can't do it. If you're an introvert by nature, like I am, then it's a little bit easier. But I challenge anybody watching this right now to spend an entire week without interacting with anybody that you don't have to interact with. Um, for example, if you have a job and you interact with people at your job, then you do that, sure. But, you know, for exactly 1 week, you know, don't talk to your friends, don't talk to your family. If you have a pet, that's fine, because you just chill with your pet, whatever. But that'll teach you how to value things a lot better. That'll teach you how to value your loneliness. It's a value that is never taught. Being able to value and embrace loneliness is never taught. And guess what? If it was, then I will bet my bottom dollar that these shootings would not take place, or if they did take place, it would really draw the line between who is really psychotic and crazy and who is just mad because they're lonely. You know, if Seng Ho Cho, the guy who performed the shootings at Virginia Tech, if he was told somebody, yo, spend a week not talking to anybody and just enjoy yourself because it's cool, being lonely is okay, being lonely is cool, and there's no lie behind it, and they were actually telling the truth, I don't think he would have done what he did. Same with Elliot Rodger. Same with the Columbine kids. If they weren't stressed out to you know, acquire a girlfriend or else be subhuman, if they didn't have that peer pressure, they wouldn't do anything. What was the name, like Walter Hauser or something like that, the person who performed the Lafayette shootings, if he was told, look, you're a divorced man in your 50s, it's unfortunate, very unfortunate, but the fact remains that you found a wife and you had a child, and this child is healthy and you should be happy for that. If he had people who told him that, if he had friends who told him that, if he had family who told him that, if he had a therapist who told him that, do you really think he would have done what he did? I don't think so. But these things are never talked about in the media. They're never talked about. They're too complex to be talked about. Instead, let's blame it on guns. Let's blame it on men feeling entitled to sex. Let's blame it on any other host of... Let's blame it on feminists. Let's blame it on let's blame it on anything that detracts us from making us better as human fucking beings. Sick of this fucking blame game being played all the fucking time in the media. When the message is clear, learn to love your fucking solitude. Learn to love it. I'm not saying the catchphrase here. Learn to love solitude. That doesn't matter who you are. Man, woman, gay, straight. If we were systematically taught to love our solitude, these violent acts would not be happening. If there was a movie that portrayed somebody who just people watched all day and they just worked at some random job and they just paid and they just worked 5 days a week, just a 9 to 5 slave job like what I'm doing now, and just got home and watched funny stuff on YouTube or watched TV and then went and worked out and he did all of these things and you watched for 2 hours this guy just doing all these things by himself, and you call it like the art of loneliness or something like that, and then in the end he has a monologue saying being lonely is the best thing I've ever been. If that movie aired and if it became really successful, that would change the entire mindset. You wouldn't have violent shooters then. Because these same violent shooters would change their mind and they'd be like, you know what? My loneliness is fucking amazing. I feel so goddamn free. But no. Instead we're taught to believe that if you're lonely, that if you're dateless, that if you're just taking time off dating, that if you don't have a girlfriend, if you don't have a boyfriend, or whatever, if you don't have a significant other, if you don't have friends, then you're just a miserable subhuman piece of shit. Do you know how much pressure that puts on a person? That's why the Lafayette shooter did what he did, because he felt pressured. And if you feel too much pressure, you will feel threatened. That's what Elliot Rodger did. And you know what? Shame on all of us for not trying to stop him, because he put videos on YouTube telling us what he was gonna do. And no one, I did. I posted a comment on that video saying, yo, if you need somebody, if you fucking need somebody, inbox me, please. I'm here for you. I didn't see any other comment. All the other comments were a chick saying, yo, you're a misogynist. Or a dude saying, bro, you need to lift weights and you need to get laid. But no support. No fucking support. Nobody is just being like, come here, man. Come here. I want to give you an e-hug right now. It just shows me how fucking pathetic the human race has become. How stupid our modern society has become. Both socially and intellectually. We can dig up all kinds of neat little facts and put them on a Facebook post and say, haha, I'm smarter than you because I posted something that you didn't know about, but your IQ is still in the fucking 70s, like Forrest fucking Gump. Only Forrest Gump was smarter than you because when he was stressed out, he just ran. Physically, not mentally. You know what I mean? But no. Instead, we want to pressure ourselves. We want to one-up it. We want to play a game of one-upmanship for everybody and be a fucking try-hard society, or in the case of women, be like a bunch of ratchets and party girls, which I have no problem with. But if you're gonna use that to flaunt what you have, and if that's gonna become a lifestyle for you, and if you're gonna be proud of that, then you know what? Then screw off. So I ask at the end of this video, who's to blame for Hulk Hogan being a supposed racist? Was it his upbringing? Was it the fact that we're too sensitive now? Or was it really his fault? Hulk Hogan does and says a lot of stupid things. Calling a record producer the N-word, let me tell you, that is not the worst thing he has done. He has done way worse. Like orchestrating his son's fucking death. I think that was a lot worse. But you didn't hear him call anyone the N-word then, did you? No. But that was completely shoved under the rug. Shoved under the fucking rug. While he went to TNA Wrestling and made millions of fucking dollars. Yeah, let that sink in. Oh, and also, and the Lafayette shooting. Who the fuck is responsible? I heard someone, like, on the radio show in the interview, someone said, oh, he was good entertainment because he had crazy conspiracy theories and he had crazy, he had like crazy ideas and beliefs and stuff like that, and it was really good entertainment to see him clash with others. Well, good. Awesome. You know what you just did? You just martyrized him, because now he's a martyr for everyone else who supports him. And let me tell you, he has quite a few supporters. And you also you gave him an outlet. You released it. You released him. You made him feel like his ideas had merit, that his ideas had worth. But you didn't support him. You didn't say, "Hey, man, I know why you think this way. It's because you feel like your quality of life has sucked. I'm here to tell you that it didn't suck. I'm here to tell you that you had a wife, you had a kid. They're both good people, and that makes you a good person, even if you're divorced." You didn't hear the guy on the TV show or the radio show say that, did you? No. You just said he was just good entertainment. So you hold him on fucking puppet strings. Like a fucking... It's like some dumbass puppeteer trying to play God. So I ask you, who's at fault there? I'd like to think that anyone who has anything to say on social issues, who can't keep an open mind, I'd like to think that it's their fault. Because you're judging people when you have these kind of social views, and you don't want to accept the views of someone else. That makes you just as big a murderer as Rusty Hauser, or whatever his name was. Yeah, yeah, I just said that. I just called out all you men's rights activists. I called out every fucking feminist. Learn to think and accept the opinions and the views of others before you go ahead and you spew out your fucking venom. And you try to get people to join your club. Come join us, is what you're trying to say. Well, I'm not going to join anybody. I'll be damned if I'm not going to be my own fucking island. I'll be damned. Because to not be my own island is to give up my fucking humanity. And I'm not going to do that.